And you guys just got awarded, or you won the pitch, the lead agency for ABSA.
Yeah, what a privilege.
And it's across the continent as well, hey?
Yes. So it's across the continent. We've just deployed a campaign that changed the position from Africanacity to Your Story Matters.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Shoes, man.
Thank you.
That's
no black-owned agency, or most agencies, have handled an account this complex and this big. And,
trusted with.
And it's a bank, so it's a privilege that we've taken with both hands. And the client is wonderful and really is pushing us forward and to really do our best work. So the first phase is launched and it's been accepted beautifully. And the trick with that, it was to find a universal insight that you can apply locally. You are launching in 12 countries. What do you say that can be understandable and implemented in those countries so they can work? So Your Story Matters. The first phase was to accept that as an institution that you trust with our money, we care about your story enough to develop the products and to give the service that takes your story further. So
how does culture influence marketing?
It will always be relevant purely because of the fact that it helps keep you honest. It keeps you at the curve of what is going on.
Marketing needs to move at the speed of culture,
which plays a role in shaping our sense.
Welcome to the Culture Code podcast. In this podcast, we'll be telling stories of how influential culture is in business. You'll hear from some of the African culture curators on how culture can be used to drive good results through marketing and advertising campaigns. Now, here's the host of the Culture Code podcast, Tebogo K.
On today's episode, we are hanging out with the co-founder, the chief growth officer of one of the biggest black-owned advertising agency, Avatar. He is the creative induna. He is the entrepreneur. He is the creative advocate, Mr. Veli Ngubane. Thank you for honoring the invite, my brother.
Thank you for inviting me.
Really appreciate you there.
Yeah.
Sifuna ukwazi namhlanje.
Angizoskipha zona.
Yeah, ukuthi indaba yakho straight or kanjani?
I think it rule.
I think you rule, eh? That's it. Let's get it.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think you want to maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, where you come from, how you start, in the industry.
Yeah. So I'm born in a place called Kwa'Mhlaba Uyalingana, to a single mom, to Veli Ngubane. Grew up Empangeni, Ngwelezane, Kaslami, B. And always been interested in creativity, but sometimes the communities that we come from don't understand creativity and how you can make a career out of it. So because maybe in Nkuluma kakhulu, they said, this one is going to be a lawyer. So from a young age, I always wanted to be a lawyer, and I ended up studying it in UCT. But the creative bug was always there. And after graduating from UCT, I went to a school called Red and Yellow. And that's really where the exposure to marketing, to advertising started. So that's really, and we've been involved in a lot of campaigns. I'm sure we'll discuss it. But I guess fundamentally it's the founding of Avatar now 12 years ago, and the growth that has come with that.
Yeah, I think let's take it a little bit back. I mean, I mean, the story that I've had, like with you, is that you started Avatar with
Z,
with Z, I've never really had before what happened before that. Were you in an agency? What happened? Were you working somewhere, or where were you?
So
did you practice as a lawyer?
Yeah, so I've only worked 8 months in my life. So I've been an entrepreneur since as long as I remember. I think my first business was at 16. Even in varsity, and that's where the Nduna name comes from. I used to throw events. Ended up owning a nightclub, Pata Pata Lounge. So I've always, in any situation that I'm in, looked for the business opportunity. And it's just been a life story. So when I graduated from Red and Yellow, I moved up to Joburg from Cape Town. and just for learning and just seeing how the industry works. Worked for a company called Island Davenport. We had the BMW account, we had Investec. So it was a really exciting, bespoke agency. And there where I learned how agencies work. And after that, started Avatar. And it's
it was
been
for
12
8
years.
months.
Yeah, the 8 months was just the learning, you know, because I think, you know, when you haven't seen how an agency runs, you know, so I think at the time they thought I was working and they thought I was very interested because I was moving from each department to, but really the purpose of that was for me to see how the agency model is, see how it works, see how it can be improved. And we saw the space, you know, to open an agency that responds to the needs of the consumer, you know, especially the majority black consumer. And that's how we started Avatar.
Jeez, man. So you went in there with like, yo, I'm out here learning.
Well, they didn't know that.
They didn't know that. Yeah, I know.
But for me, it was if I'm gonna go into an industry, I have to know what at the time was the best agency for me. You know, they were winning SA Tourism. They ended up with Vodacom. So it was this growing agency that I wanted to learn from. And the founders were involved. Philip and John were involved. So you also got exposed to the business side, not only how agencies run, but how entrepreneurs run agencies. And I think at the beginning, our agency was based on a lot of the learnings that I'd learned from there. Yeah,
sure. And you learned from the best. I mean, Davenport Island was like one of the shit hot agency at the time.
Yeah. And, you know, 12 years later, quite interestingly, we've got the privilege of working with Philip Island. He's now our global chief creative officer based in London. So that relationship has spanned for years. We ended up being quite close, and we've got mutual respect that has led to us, led to him joining Avatar. So that's
so you hired your boss.
Well, he's now a business partner, but I guess it's just the respect that we have for each other. I mean, Philip was rated top 10 creatives by the Gun Report, so to have a person in our stable of that stature is a rare privilege.
So Avatar is rated the biggest advertising agency black-owned in South Africa, right? And the third largest independent agency. So I think just for a viewer, what does that mean for someone who might not understand, you know, how the workings of the industry?
Yeah, so just on the base of it, the industry is owned by multinational companies. So the agencies that you see here have got foreign ownership, and there are major groups that own these agencies. So independence is not a common thing. You know, they part from groups, and you'd find that they've got a global network of agencies. So dealing with the independent part, we wanted to own it. Both Zé and I own the agency, and it was quite intentional. We wanted to set up an agency by Africans for Africans, you know. So trust me, we've had lots of offers to be bought out, you know, and we remain steadfast in the vision that we've done. And subsequently, we've started our own group, M&N Brands, which is Veli Ngubane, which owns the agencies that we own. So at the moment, we own 8 agencies in the different disciplines of marketing, and that's what we've established, and we currently employ over 300 people. That's the size. And the top 3 independents from the Scopen report. So there's a study by Scopen that looks at the industry, and we were seen as the 3rd biggest agency overall, which makes us the biggest 100% black-owned agency. Yeah,
sure. Tell us about your role. I think you've now moved from as a you now I think on M&N M plus M plus N.
Yeah.
So your role there is what exactly?
So with the growth of the agency, so previously I was the chief creative officer, which means you are in charge of the creative product and the advertising and the output from clients. But with the vision growing bigger, we needed a custodian of that vision. Now, as I said before, we own 8 agencies. So to coordinate the growth in that agency, in those agencies, needed a position. We are growing into the rest of the continent. We already got clients that are active in the rest of the continent. A Chinese a cell phone manufacturer called Techno, which was our first big global clients in multiple markets. We've got Isuzu, we've got Unilever, we've got now ABSA that expresses themselves and they work in the rest of the continent. So we needed a growth strategy for that. So I always say it's a fancy term for a salesperson. So what I do is grow the brand into different markets with the eventuality of opening in those markets as we grow this network. So it's an exciting start for me because it's almost I'm creating business partnerships. I'm looking after our brands to see how they grow. I'm looking after our people to say how do we grow, because when you employ over 300 people, you need to manage them in a particular way for their own growth and to grow across the group. So that's in essence what the role is about. Yeah.
And then how do you go about acquiring these businesses? or these partnerships?
So the M&N Brands also has the function of investment. So you'd identify a brand that is in the market, and that's how Avatar Durban. So Avatar, which is the biggest business with 3 offices in Cape Town, Joburg, and Durban. So what we did in Durban is that we went in, saw a big independent player and bought them over 51%, bought them over and then rebranded. Because I believe that, if you're already doing well in the market and maybe you just need the systems, and maybe you need the partnerships, maybe you need the growth thinking and to be part of a bigger vision, and that's how we identify them. And the talks that we have on the rest of the continent is already that. I believe that agencies that are entrepreneurially run, that want to remain independent, we usually say our group is a federation of entrepreneurs. So what we do is we bring the Avatar brand and we bring the Avatar systems, and the companies carry on doing what they're doing, but just now with the bigger badge and bigger muscle and bigger support.
100%. So now some of these guys, they actually can come to you. Your door is open for some of the guys who say, hey, I actually want to be, part of this group, this network.
Yeah, look, well, there's a lot of vetting. I part of my job is looking into the different countries. And usually what happens is we partner with agencies. As we've launched in the rest of the continent, there's people I'm talking to in Kenya, but people I'm talking to in Ghana and etc. And it started from a partnership relationship in market. Then you get to feel how you work together, and that always develops. So it's like dating. We're not just jumping into marriage. We first see the synergies, because that's very important to me. Can we work together? And usually we start with a project and a partnership, and then we can grow into that. Yeah.
So some of these guys are not South African companies.
Yeah. So as we grow, because for us, our view was that to grow, you need to grow with clients.
Sure.
So it made sense for us to pitch on clients that are into the rest of the continent. And before opening offices there, we needed to respect the environment and the players there. So we'd start by partnering with the best of breed there in terms of the office deployment. And some of those relationships have developed into ownership. And that's how we work. I think the old model of just, packing up your bags and opening in Nairobi and hoping for the best, and also thinking that what works here will work there is a mistake that a lot of companies. So for us, we respect the environments, and I think the partnership model has taught us a lot in the environments that we operate in.
Yeah. Sure. That's one interesting job there, brother.
It's
doing
nice.
big things.
And you get to travel.
You get to travel. And the continent is
which-
so beautiful, man.
It's amazing,
Yeah, it's amazing.
and you can see the potential. And I think a lot of people still have an outdated view of where the continent is.
The black continent.
And the opportunities there, the collaborations, the innovation is mind-blowing. So that's actually quite a good part that I really, really enjoy, being in country and really absorbing the environment and seeing the opportunities.
Yeah. Sure. So now I think let's talk more creative processes. I think in this day and age.
Yeah.
I think with the inclusion of AI, storytelling. Well, storytelling has been there.
Yeah,
nonetheless.
it's ours, right?
It's ours. Culture and storytelling. It's been.
Yeah.
But I think now we have what we call AI, machine learning.
Yeah.
All these other things. Like I always even I was asking one guy the other day. I was like, guys, are we really now going to see machine learning writing copy now? How is it like? What is the narrative that you guys are driving? Where technology is concerned.
Yeah, I think for me the first thing about technology is that we need to accept that it's happening, and find the positive in that happening.
Yeah.
I'm sure the people that used to scamp and draw when programs like Photoshop and design programs, those who didn't accept the evolution from drawing from a piece of paper to using a computer, probably are not around in that industry. So the first is to accept.
Yeah.
I think with technology, because it's such a new thing, inevitably people think it's going to replace something, or it's fear based on it. But the approach that we've taken as an agency group is to embrace AI. Some of the pitches we use AI to generate some of the imagery for the pitch, but we've also taken a moral stance to say for the moment we can generate off AI, but there's also photographers and an entrepreneurial community, but we'll never shoot a campaign in AI, but we can create references around it. So at the base of it is acceptance. And at the base of it is understanding that any new technology that comes into an industry is first going to be non-accepted by some, but the ones that accept it and embrace it and see how they can work with it to improve are the ones that I find usually prosper. There's a quote by Henry Ford that if I'd asked people what they want, they probably would have wanted faster horses. So people fear what they don't know. But I think for the industry, it's an opportunity to really, really use the technology to become better.
So are you telling me now interns don't have to scam stuff up now?
Well, yeah, look, there's some that still do, which is fine. But, I mean, there's also technology that can progress from that. So it's not replacing, but it's enhancing. And I think that's the role of technology in anything is to enhance.
It's to enhance,
and make better, But there's always a resistance when it gets introduced and then it gets to the point of acceptance. But I usually say that the people that accept technology at the beginning are the ones that learn the development of that technology and can use it in their daily lives and their businesses.
And I think another thing that I really want us to kind of delve into a little bit is the smart consumer. I think right now we as much as AI is playing a major role in advertising, in how we market and all that. There's this smart consumer there, smart consumer that. How do we market to a smart consumer?
I would say a more informed consumer. With the advent of the exposure of digital, with the advent of social media, we are dealing with the consumer, especially the younger generation, that can see advertising. Right. So what do we do about that, and how do we make sure that the message is still relevant? And that's where authenticity comes in. That's where storytelling comes in. That's when knowing the people that you're advertising to is very important. There's a concept of hyper-personalization, where you gather data from a big group of people and actually personalize that data to a market. So as much as the consumer is getting smarter, so should the marketer that is dealing with that consumer, because the information is there, the data is there. On an app, a lot of people don't realize how much information you are giving out. So the agencies that are data driven, that can use that data responsibly to be able to market and really understand, because now you can't just use a blanket approach, a spray and pray message. You need to make sure that the message is tailored to be accepted by a consumer that can see advertising for what it is.
So I think what I'm hearing there's like you guys are giving your McKinsey's, Accentures, the run for their money. So clients don't necessarily have to go start there; they can start right here.
We're growing. You know, we've got a B2B business, Resilience, which is exactly that. It's a consulting firm for our clients, because marketing and advertising is one thing. But from a business to business and from a business operations, it's another thing. Sometimes marketing a brand that doesn't have the internal systems can actually be bad for a brand. Because especially in the social media era, where if your service is bad, if your internal staff are not accepting of the message. And we've seen brands burn themselves where the marketing message is promising one thing, but the lived experience of the brand is
something
different.
Else.
So we started this B2B consultancy agency to start bridging the reality to what we are saying as a brand to what customers are actually experiencing as a touch point to our brand.
Jeez, man, you guys are
doing the things.
Doing the things. Yes. So how is it like running like a big? It's not even a truck. This is like it's a big a train, or how is it like running this?
I don't think I get enough time to think about it. You know, because we are following a vision. You know, if you had asked me 5 years where we plan to be, I would have told you about this dream of where we are now. So because we are always chasing, I think we don't have enough moment to sit and see how it is. You know, even growing beyond the number 300, we were told by HR, and we're like, we knew there was a lot of people, but now we've broke the 300 mark. But because we've got this big vision that we are following, everything that we do is a piece of the puzzle to building what ultimately we want to build. So we don't get a lot of time to reflect, because you are servicing, you are building, you are making sure that where you are delivering quality work that benefits the clients. So there's not many reflective moments, but because we are so focused on the vision and the position that we wanna occupy in the space.
And so 300, that's a lot of people, eh?
A lot of families, right?
That's a lot of families, eh? That's a lot of weight on your shoulders, UNZ, hey.
It's a lot of weight on their shoulders. You know, we can establish the vision, and if we get good enough people to execute the vision, then everything should be okay, right? So we made sure that we put the systems, we put the leadership that can manage that growth, you know, in our group. And I think we're privileged enough to have some of the best leaders and the best talent that make our load. So most of the time, as DNI's role is to just carry on fueling and growing this thing and making sure that we hire people that can execute against that vision.
And you guys just got awarded, or you won the pitch, the lead agency for ABSA.
Yeah, what a privilege.
And it's across the continent as well, hey?
Yes. So it's across the continent, and we've just deployed a campaign that changed the position from Africanacity to Your Story Matters.
Our stories begin right here, and we never write them alone. Sometimes we write them with someone who puts our story first. Other times with someone who puts their own story first. There'll be pages we love to read again and again, and some we'll barely remember. Sometimes we feel like the hero of our story. and other times not. There are stories of dreamers, stories of creators, stories of strivers, stories of believers, and we're inspired by them all. That's why we invite you to write your story with us. Your story matters.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Shoes, man.
Thank you.
That's. I think for me, your story matters. Is not just. I think for you guys, when you guys are winning, I think it gives us hope. You know, like
Wow.
the guys, the small guys who are playing in the space. It's like,
yeah.
oh wow. You know,
And
it's
that's what it's
possible.
about, right?
You know what I mean? Yeah, Black Child is possible. You know what I mean? It's a big one.
That's what's it about, you know. No black-owned agency or most agencies have handled an account
Right.
this complex and
Yeah.
this big, and,
Trusted with.
and it's a bank,
Yeah.
you know. So it's a privilege that we've taken with both hands, and the client is wonderful and really is pushing us forward and to really do our best work. So the first phase is launched, and it's been accepted beautifully. And the trick with that, you know, it was to find a universal insight that you can apply locally. You are launching in 12 countries. What do you say that can be understandable and implemented in those countries so they can work? So your story matters. The first phase was to accept that as an institution that you trust with our money, we care about your story enough to develop the products and to give the service that takes your story further. So that has really grown our business. And I'm happy that you are saying that, because for us, the win of ABSA is not only for us.
No.
You know, it's to prove that it is possible. And it's a case in point for any marketer that wants to appoint a black-owned agencies as a point
100.
of reference. That's why failure was never an option with
Yeah.
this. And hence we didn't even have December or whatever to make sure that when we launch this campaign, it's a proof point for the players that are coming up to say, you know, if Avatar could do it, then so can we.
And I think also, can you maybe, you know, explain to our viewer what a lead agency is? Because I mean, you know, some people might not know what the lead agency is. You know, and also this is also not it's not a campaign. This is like a positioning a deal, right?
Yes, it's like just do it.
Yes.
You know, so the campaigns come from that position. So a position is the long-term a position that you plug in the different campaigns. So before, there were 3 agencies that were leading different parts of the business, and this new leadership saw it fit to put one agency in charge of most of the aspects of the brand building. So core to that is positioning the brand, developing the brand campaign, and all the assets that are under it, whether it's home loans, whether it's car financing. And then as a lead agency, ABSA's got multiple agencies in the different disciplines, from your PR agencies, your activations, media agencies, and the sort. But as a lead agency, you are in charge of looking after the brand. You are in charge of coordinating the brand message and the brand voice and how the brand shows up in the different markets that you have. So it's a really a big position and a big responsibility that we've accepted, and that's, I'm proud of the team that we've built to deliver against that need.
You've been very active in the transformation topic conversation, and I know that you are sitting in various transformation councils, or should I say bodies, one of which is the presidency MEC Charter. How is that conversation going? Is the needle moving?
I think maybe let's go to the beginning of the need.
Sure.
You know, before the assessment of is anything happening. I think the conversation is a necessary conversation until we see the difference. So when the needle moves, it will move. But for now, we mustn't be disappointed when we don't see the change that we want in the industry. So it's been a lifelong passion for me on different fronts. One, on the education front, because you can fight for transformation, but if the students aren't getting the bursaries, if students aren't going into the system to study marketing and advertising, then who are you transforming it for? You know, so that was the first phase, to say, I sit on the board of Red and Yellow Advisory as chairman, and the barrier to entry for some schools is the affordability. So let's lower the barrier. Let's give bursaries so that people can get in to study and have a career option that is viable from the best institutions in this country. So that's the input, to say, while you're talking about the current issues, make sure that there's people coming into the industry. So that's the Red and Yellow board. And then in IAB, you mentioned sit as chair of the and the establishing founder of the Transformation Council. And it's because it's a membership-based organization, that council now first starts by checking its own members, if it's and that's what we did. And I guess the privilege that you talked about of sitting as in the MAC Charter Council is probably the most significant, because we are looking into BE laws, because over the years, as we've been moving the needle, so people have been looking at BE legislation and seeing the loopholes and seeing how they can take advantage of certain pillars to get the BE accreditation without actually having the intent. So we're tightening up the laws. It's in front of the minister now for consideration, where we've done research and monitoring on where it is easy to score on the scorecard. If you know that the points are accumulated by the scorecards, and people have gone, because they don't have real intent to transform, people have gone for some of the parts of the scorecards where maybe it's easier to get points. So we're looking at the whole legislation, and for me, for the needle to move, legislation needs to back up. I mean, we can have the conversation until we're blue in the face, but ultimately, if it's a law that is respected and the people that are implementing the law knows the need, it's not fighting, it's not taking away from anyone, but the need to transform society is incumbent on anyone in any industry.
You know, funny you say that, because we had a guest chair, I think in our previous episode, and a woman that is, and she was talking about how, you know, BEE or it's a lie. I think for a woman in South Africa, she went into this industry being told that if she's a woman, it's easy for her she's gonna be smooth sailing in terms of like she's gonna be offered, you know, like resources, or it's gonna be an easy transition for her to be moving around, especially in the advertising industry space. But it turns out it's a lie. Well, she said it's a lie.
I think the most important thing is to not make BE legislation the driver of your business. There's certain standard factors of operating a business and being an entrepreneur that you need to achieve. And BE can help you, but at the core of it, you need to have a business. At the core of it, you need to have systems and a brand that can get accepted even without BE legislation. Now, to address the past, you need almost a catalyst to that core business that is functioning. And in the absence of that, I think you can get very disappointed if you think the legislation will transform and run your business. You can get very frustrated. But if you've got if you're building a business and you have the talent in the systems, BE legislation then is the cherry on top to really push you forward. But simply, and especially if you want to grow even beyond South Africa, you know, if you're running your business based on the BE opportunities and the legislation thereof, it leads to great frustration, because your business ideally should be built to operate anywhere in the world.
No, but I mean, so obviously, I think you are obviously you will say this because you sit in that But I think there are some businesses though that like they're really frustrated, you know, especially with that whole BEE thing. I mean, there's a lot of people who are really frustrated. I mean, who actually have like a proper a business, you know, they're structured well.
Yeah.
But still, there's still like a lot of frustrations, particularly I think for this industry. This industry, it's not that easy. It's not a walk on a park where you know it's compared to other industries. I mean, construction guys and whatnot, they're a little bit favored. Their things are moving and whatnot. But when it comes to this one in particular, things are different.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a black player that has founded a black-owned agency in this field. So I'm totally aware of the frustrations.
Yeah.
And that's why I say it needs all of us to get together and say, where are we, which is the research point, and where do we want to go? And the emergence of organization that represent even black agency owners is very good, because then we can have a united view on where we want to go, not an individualistic view that, you know, is frustrating me, it's frustrating a bigger pool of people. So I think that legislation, tightening up legislation is the first point of call, because that is the law. So if there's frustration, which is frustration for all of us, looking into the law and changing that and making sure that people abide by the law is the first point of call. But I as an entrepreneur, and as an entrepreneur that deals with a lot of other entrepreneurs, I understand the base of that frustration. But for me, there needs to be a conversation that still carries on, and the laws need to be looked at. So, and people need to enter the industry. So as much as today I might be frustrated, but what does the tomorrow look for the generation that is even coming behind us?
I like that. What does the law say?
Yeah.
This is the lawyer you coming in.
Look, you can get frustrated or argue with the system, but if it's a law that needs to be implemented, that we can use that. So if we've got people that take that law seriously, and the law is applied in a way that benefits black business, then things should start moving.
Yeah.
If that's respected.
I got you.
Yeah.
So you guys with ABSA, you being the lead agency, is this the first lead agency role that you've landed?
We've had the privilege of having lead agency roles in many of our clients. I think the first was South African Airways, where we are appointed their global agency. And you know, if I really research or think about where Avatar really grew, it was that client. The client that first gave us the confidence to lead South African Airways globally. And over the years, we've had lead agency roles in various clients. But every lead role agency is unique, you know. Akusi into ongafika nge-experience, you know, because you have to respect that everyone is different, different agencies, different clients. So as much as we've had lead agency roles before, you need to come into every relationship with the respect that people are different, times are different, and we've taken it such.
Okay, I got you. And then you're you know, so now you're dealing with, as a lead agency, you would be dealing with different agencies, small, medium, small to medium agencies and all of that. So how does your what is your, like, how your intent or your promotion, what is that, coach? Your approach. What is your approach and the nurturing narrative?
I think we've got programs, and I don't want to turn this into almost like a PR thing. We've got programs that we have. We've got initiatives that we have. I'm passionate about transformation, both from internally in Avatar, but I think it's a bigger role from outside. I think for the people that follow me, I've got the longest running column on Mark Lives that profiles black creatives. So I think it starts from an awareness that as black creatives we exist and we are good and we are doing the work. And those are the platforms that we've created. But what I strive to do is that in my little corner, looking up and working hard to challenge some of the norms that have become, so that a new industry entrant can have an easier path to walk. So, I'll turn this into if I had to tell you, the battle wounds that we've had over the last 12 years and the difficulties. But my aim is that us going through and breaking that ceiling, it makes it easier for someone who's coming. So my day-to-day job encompasses that, to say, if we win a client, we're not only winning a client for us, but the next person is a reference point. So that's why I share freely about the lessons that we've learned, because hopefully it can make it easier for the next person that is coming up.
Yeah. And then acquiring talent. I think I heard you on the other platform where you were talking about, being diverse, understanding that in a sense. How do you acquire talent?
Talent is everywhere. The creative economy is probably the most untapped resource. Sure. They don't realize they are creatives. You look at even platforms like TikTok. People are just playing. But what we need to I guess educate and really market is that thought can be turned into profit. Some people are realizing it, but you look at a piece of content on video and it's genius, and that person is just so for me, I believe talent is everywhere, but I think the awareness that talent, that humor, that thought can be turned into profit in a creative economy is something that I think we all must do better as a focus. So I make sure that I can look for talent. I've hired people from everywhere, trained, non-trained, someone who loves the industry and is good at it, because I don't think classical training as well is the only way to get into the industry. And what we see is that the diverse talent and sometimes the untrained talent through the formal schools that I'd mentioned is not necessarily the requirement to become a great creative. But it starts from the belief that the creative economy is a valid and a safe place to go. When you say to your parent, I want to be a creative, I want to go into advertising, they don't try steer to something else that they might. So in our minds as society, we need to celebrate that creativity is a career. And I think once that job is done, then it's easier for people not only joining our form of creativity, which is advertising, but any form of creativity, whether it be painting, whatever expression. But if you believe it's sustainable to make a living, that's where it starts, I think.
Because it also can't be like, institutions, your red and yellow and stuff, because those institutions are very expensive. Like a kid from Kwa'Mhlaba Uyalingana, some of them are not as privileged. I mean, a kid from Mafikeng, Sweding, or whatever, they don't have the funds. I think they're they're previously disadvantaged to a point. Their parents cannot afford to take them to Vega, or
Definitely. And I think what we've seen, especially with social media and especially with TikTok, is that you don't necessarily need those schools. You need to get to an environment where there is a culture of harnessing that so that you give it direction. And that's what your creative directors do. The raw talent has got the talent. It's like soccer. You don't need to go to a fancy academy. If you've got the raw skill of playing soccer, you just now need a coach to finesse and make you play with others. So raw talent is raw talent. And in the industry, we must also be cognizant that our talent doesn't only come from these schools. Our talent comes from anywhere. And we've taken that approach at Avatar. That there's a gentleman that came with me, although it was a bit of cheating, because he'd brief himself on a campaign. So he'd pick a Coca-Cola, brief himself, and because the brief is also managed by him, he'd come up with creative against that brief, which was beautiful.
That's a good one.
So he came with the book. Saying, this is my thoughts on this brand. This is my thoughts on this brand. That gentleman now works on some of our biggest accounts in the agency
Sure.
of that potential. You know,
Yeah.
so. Despite the fact that he had written his own briefs, but he answered them in a way that you could see potential.
See
And once you see that potential, you need to nurture it. You need to put it in a system and start guiding of what we know as a creative director to say, this is how we write, or this is how we don't write. But the biggest thing, I guess, to wrap up this conversation, is that talent is everywhere. And if people believe that you have to go to a fancy school or expensive school to become a great creative, they are wrong. Because I've seen many creatives that haven't.
I got you. How are you looking at your environmental footprint?
Yeah.
You know, how does your environmental footprint looks like? You know, when you run in such a magnitude.
No, I think it's very important to us, and we've put measures and investment behind it because. For you to market, there needs to be a world and people and consumers to market to that are living sustainably. From the basic decisions of making sure that our offices are green efficient,
Sure.
to making sure that we curb unnecessary travel, to make sure that we monitor the use of paper and recycling. So the basics of it, how we contribute. But I think on that point, COVID had a lot of negative things.
Yeah.
Right. And we all know the pain of COVID. But I think for me, one of the most positive is the use of technology to restrict travel for meetings.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the positive that came out, that now you can be able to sit at home and actually participate in the economy and participate in a meeting. And maybe this will show my age. I was reluctant about this work from home thing. I mean, my ex-co would know. I was the one saying, you know, people must come to work. I want to see you.
Want to see you.
You know, but with me respecting and that argument of it's also good for the environment is something that also convinced me. So at Avatar, we've got 2 days of the week that people can work from home. Then we try discourage people from traveling to meetings, rather make sure that the first option is an online meeting. And if you really want a client, you need FaceTime with the client, then do it. So I think that has changed, and I think that helps. But it's something that we're well aware of. We're not perfect at it, but it's something that I'm conscious of. I think some people still want the job back. So we don't have a job back now, and I think it's all digital now. And we grew up in a point where you wanted to see the work
on your desk. Job bags must be there.
Then you look at the thing. So all those developments are good for the environment.
Lovely. Sorry. What the future of Avatar? How does it look like?
Only God knows. So I remain in faith. But according to our vision and plan and our strategy is to be respected globally and preferred in the markets that we operate. My immediate mandate is to grow the group into the rest of the continent. Is to develop the group so that it can be a home for entrepreneurs that see value in joining us. To create a group for Africans by Africans, where entrepreneurs are respected, where things are done a bit differently. So what the future holds is in faith in God and us praying for the vision that we might have in our heads to manifest. But expansion, both on the rest of the continent and globally, is something that is an ambition of ours.
But I think another question that I wanted to, maybe I should have asked it differently, is that, the future, like what does the future Avatar? The future Avatar looks like, for the young and up and coming, smaller agencies.
I don't know what a future Avatar looks like, because there shouldn't be a future Avatar. There should be a future of whatever is created then to fit the context of.
Sorry, I'm saying the future. Avatar because I'm like
Or
right
you mean
now
another agency?
another agency,
Okay.
another agency because I'm saying the future Avatar because Avatar is
Oh.
winning right now, and I think
Okay.
we looking at Avatar and saying,
Oh,
"Shit,
oh.
I want to be like Avatar." You know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay, no. I understand the question. I think it's similar. You know, the people that create find space and find their voice, and are able to build from there, not wanting to be like anyone else except answering to the needs of the community of consumers that they serve. I've seen great companies by young people, and which I'm encouraged about because they are not trying to emulate being someone else, but they're themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the companies that prosper are the companies that might draw inspiration from all the various stories and the various successes of agencies, but are able to take that and make it unique to them and their process and their vision. But the future is not bleak because I've seen some really great agencies on the come up.
So I don't know, Veli, maybe you wanna share anything that you share something with us, our viewers, what you wanna, maybe I didn't ask you stuff that you wanted to discuss.
No, and I just want to thank you for the invite. I want to thank all the people that have contributed. You don't build an agency our size alone. From the clients that we've walked past with to the people that have previously worked for us, worked with us, and work for us. It's a privilege to work with the people and the clients that we have. And I guess I don't get to say it because there's so much love, launching the ABSA campaign. We've received so much love from so many people. Some we hear, some we get DMs, some we get phone calls. But just to thank the support and the love, because we feel it, and that like might not mean anything to someone, but to us, we see the love and the support because we're also doing this for the first time. So it's not that we are experienced at running banking accounts. And sometimes especially when you put out a piece of work, it's nerve-wracking.
It is.
Because people need to respond to that work. And the way people have responded in the country, across the continent, our clients and the support for the work gives us confidence to carry on. So thank you to podcasts like this that we are able to tell our story, but mostly thank you for the love.
So what's next for you? What's next for Veli Ngubane? I think personally, I mean, you've done remarkable things with Avatar, building brands and all of that. But now, you personally, what's next for you? What's your vibe?
Yeah, I think to carry on living in my purpose, whether professionally or personally. I think those who follow me on social will see the expression of the love I have for my family, for my young family, for my wife, for my son, and I want to carry on living in my purpose, both as a parent, both as a husband, as a business partner, as a son. I am always grateful at the end of the day, whether hard or easy, where I've done my best to live my purpose in whatever way. Whether it's being able to inspire the next creative, whether it's someone listening to this podcast and seeing value in it, whether it's a proof point to your parents that, hey, I can also be a creative. Here's a guy from Mhlaba Uyalingana.
Right.
I mean, if a guy from Mhlaba Uyalingana can do it,
I can do it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So it's important. I just want to carry on living my purpose and fulfilling and using the talents that I have. There's a quote that I might end up with that says, God has given you talent. So your talent is God's gift to you. Right? But what you decide to do with that talent is your gift back to God.
Sure.
So I'd like to start with talents that God has given me, to carry on serving Him by giving Him back His talents, by showcasing the skills and using the skills to the betterment of society.
Jeez, man. That's deep, brother.
Is it?
Yeah. I need tissues now.
Don't cry. Don't cry.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
geez,
but
man,
but it's
we
good.
want-
I mean, in its in I guess in its elementary sense, I just want to do better every day.
Yeah.
You know, in all aspects of my life.
Yeah. Lovely, man. I think that brings us to the end of this thing. This thing.
Advertising.
The stories are being told by the culture. Culturally, how people think is slowly dictating what the advertisers want to move towards. It needs to catch up, but what you find is that marketers who need to implement the speed are backwards themselves. Marketers who are not forward thinkers. We need brave marketing or marketers that can influence culture.